Welcome to Live DAF, your online DAF Yomi Shir.
Shalom Aleichem and welcome back to today's DAF, Bava Metzia Tzadi Gimel. We are holding at the Mishnah, which is partway down the Amud. Kaitetz Adam, Aydei Atzmai. As we learned, a poel, a worker, is allowed to snack off, the food that he's eating, that he's dealing with, that he's working with, right? But a worker is allowed to make the following stipulation. He can reach an agreement with his employer. Look, I'm not going to, have your lunch. Instead, add some to my salary. That's called kaitetz. So you can make that agreement if it's on his own behalf, right? For his own work. Kaitetz adam aydei atzmai. He's the worker, right? You can say, look, I'm giving up the lunch entitlement for an increase in salary. You can do that. Likewise, if he's doing it on behalf of his adult son or daughters, so he's going to earn a bit more off their work, and they're adults, they're responsible, they're intelligent, they can acquiesce to this type of arrangement. That's okay. Or his slave or maid servant, again, if they're adults, they're able to acquiesce, and that's okay. Or on behalf of his wife. So he's conditioning a foregoing of lunch for an increase in salary, which he will, be the one taking for their work. That's okay. We're speaking about intelligent, mature individuals, and they can acquiesce to this type of arrangement. But he can't do that for youngsters. Let's say he has a son, daughter, underage. Kids who are working for this fellow, and he's, earning their income. He can't make this arrangement. He can't, arrange to forego their lunch for an increase in salary because they're not adults who have the ability to forego and to be meichel, right? Likewise, as eved or shifcha are ktanim, you are an account of his animal. Look, you can, use my animal, rent my animal, and deprive him of his feed. You can't do that. They're not considered, intelligent individuals, meaning they don't have the maturity to be able to, willingly and responsibly forego these privileges. And this is actually a Mishnah which we had yesterday. It's pretty much a repeat, a review of yesterday's, right? Furthermore, let's say a fellow hires workers, to do some work with his neta ravai, fruit that grew on the fourth year of its growth. So basically, this fruit is no longer erla, which only lasts for 3 years. It's called neta ravai. Ravai is lashon of revi, the fourth year, which case it has to be eaten in Yerushalayim. So these fellows who are involved in tending to his orchard at this point in time can't partake in that food. Harei elu lo yochlu, because it's outside Yerushalayim. But let's say he did not inform them. They were not aware of the fact that it was this type of product. They were expecting a lunch. He has to proceed and do pidyon. He has to redeem some of this fruit and feed them. Likewise, nisparsu igulov. He had these clumps, these igulim, these circles of pressed figs, and they got sort of dispersed, and they have to be stuck back together. And that's what he hired these fellows to do. Or he had wine in his barrels, which became unsealed, and he's asking them to go and reseal it. So these materials do not qualify for the achila of the poel, because these are already finished products, right? Fully processed products from which a worker cannot snack, right? But if he didn't tell them that it's holding this far, so he has to give it to them because the Gemara yesterday said it looks like a mekachtos, looks like he misled them, so he has to separate the maaser, right, and feed them from this, right. Shemrei Peres. Now let's say we have a guard, a watchman. That's all he's doing. He's watching the orchard. He's entitled to partake and snack off the food based on a Hilchos Medina. Rashi says it's a minhag. It has become the accepted practice to allow even a fellow who's doing this type of limited work, just watching, to partake in that food. He's not entitled based on the Torah halacha, because he's simply watching. Says the Gemara, let's elaborate on this halacha. Let's focus on this most recent, this last halacha. Shemrei Peres. Amar Rav. What is he watching? Amar Rav leishonu leishemrei ginois pardeses. When the Mishnah says he's not entitled min haTorah, that's because he's guarding ginois, pardesim, gardens, orchards, which Rashi says is considered mechubar b'shah she'ein gemar malacha. Only a fellow who's really like harvesting is really entitled to eat min haTorah. But here, it's pre-harvest. He's watching fruit which are growing. So min haTorah he doesn't eat, only because of the minhag. Okay? Aval. Shemrei gitos v'aremes. But, let's say, he's guarding piles of grapes which had already been picked. Okay, so the aremes are piles of grain, and gites is the wine that's in the wine press. So here, he's entitled min haTorah, because that's the halacha we learned in the Mishnah the other day, right? If a person is involved in work, mechubar lekarka, and he's harvesting something off the ground, he's entitled. Likewise, if he's involved in something which is tolush min karka, already harvested off the ground, if it's still at the moment of it's not yet fully processed, right? Then he's allowed to take from that tolush, from that material that's off the ground. So here we have gitais varemes, which are tolush, things that which are detached, and it's not yet fully processed. And since he's involved and he's watching and he's allowed to eat min haTorah. Because Rav holds, when you guard something, kasavar, mishamer, watching, guarding, ka'isam masadam, is treated like full involvement. Like you're fully involved, like you're actually involved in work. It's not just like a passive type of activity. It's considered like an active activity, and you're entitled min haTorah. Like a regular worker. Okay, so again, according to Rav, if you're doing this so-called work on something which is tolush min karka, allows you to eat min haTorah. The thing that the Mishnah is speaking is where he's guarding something which is still growing. It's not yet being harvested. So there, the halacha is you're not entitled min haTorah. It's only midrabanan. Shmuel disagrees. He says guarding, it's not much of an activity. It doesn't really entitle a worker to eat min haTorah. Only midrabanan. And even that is only provided that the material itself would potentially afford a worker that entitlement if he should be fully involved. So basically, the minhag is like takes the halacha it extends it one step further, not two steps. That's the point. Shmuel Amar leishanu l'shem regites varemes. When do we say a guard is allowed to partake? He's guarding finished, harvested products, which if he would be fully engaged in processing it, he would be eating it min haTorah. But he's only guarding, which is a limited form of involvement, according to Shmuel. So that takes it a step. The minhag takes it a step further and includes this fellow as well. But if it's something that's still growing off the tree, right? On the tree, it's still before harvesting. He's just watching that. That's already 2 steps removed. Right? The material is not really eligible, and he's not even involved. 2 steps removed. He doesn't eat at all. He's not entitled min haTorah or because of based on a minhag. Kasavar. Shmuel's point is based on mishamer lav koisem masadami. Guarding is not treated like a masa. So bottom line, according to Rav, mishamer is like fully active, fully involved. So if it's material which allows min haTorah, so even a mishamer is allowed to min haTorah. If it does not allow min haTorah, so at least in the Rabbanan he gets it. According to Shmuel, mishamer is not considered kaisem masa. So you're starting sort of on the left foot. You're eating milchas medina, but even that's only if it's material which would theoretically entitle me to eat min haTorah if I was fully involved. If I'm mishamer, if I'm really guarding, 1 step away, so I eat I'm entitled because of the accepted practice. But if the material itself would not theoretically entitle a worker to eat min haTorah. So if I'm guarding, I'm certainly not entitled even mehilchais medina. Masiv Rav Acha bar Huna v'avakasha mashamar sapara mitame v'gadim. We know that if a person is involved in processing the pura aduma from the point of shchita, Rashi says, until they gather the ashes, so the garments that he's wearing become tamei. And even a person who's merely guarding is included in this halacha. If guarding is not considered a real activity, so why are his garments becoming affected? We're concerned he might inadvertently be physically involved. He might move some sort of limb and be involved. The fellow was tasked with guarding 4 or 5 different gardens with kishuin, cucumbers or whatever, squash. Basically, he's working for 5 different people. He shouldn't be strictly eating off one garden. That's not fair. He's got to distribute his lunch, a little from this one, a little from that one, in proportion to their part of the in proportion to their part of the job. But now, hold it. All he's doing is guarding. If guarding is not considered an activity, so why is he eating at all? According to Shmuel. Because here, he's not entitled for any reason. Because remember, he's guarding something which is still mechuber l'karka, pre-harvest. That's already 1 step removed, and now he's just guarding, it's 2 steps removed. He shouldn't be getting anything according to Shmuel. We're not speaking about squash which is still on the ground. It's been uprooted off the ground. So that is material which is called talush, and as long as it's not yet fully finished, not yet chayiv and maser, so if a person is fully engaged and fully involved, he would be eating min haTorah. But if he's just guarding, 1 step removed, he eats min rabbanan. Asks the more akur, if it's been uprooted, it's a finished product. The flour or whatever has not been removed off the squash, so it's not considered fully finished, and it qualifies. If we take a close look at our Mishnah back on DAF Pei Zayin, which sets down the parameters for a worker partaking in the material, we will see a raya to Shmuel that in some cases, right, if he's guarding mechuber l'karka, he's not entitled at all. We're going to see that in the Mishnah. This none. In the following cases, he's entitled to eat min haTorah. If he's harvesting, right, off the ground, now, when the Mishnah says this fellow can eat min haTorah, what does that imply? Apparently, there are others who are not entitled min haTorah, only midrabanan because of the minhag, right? Let's move on to the next part of the Mishnah. In the following cases, they do not eat. What does that mean they don't eat? At all? Or does it mean they're not entitled based on the Torah, only based on the minhag? Well, that's pretty much repeating what the Mishnah just said in the beginning, right? That some fellows will not have min haTorah olam in Medina. Why the repetition? Rather, it must be that the Mishnah means to say they will not partake at all. Like Shmuel, who says that in some cases you're not entitled at all. Not because of the Torah, not because of the minhag. Who are these individuals? If a person is involved in mechuber l'karka, not during the harvesting point, right? So even if he's doing a masa, right? I don't know, he's pruning the tree, that doesn't entitle him because he's not involved in harvesting. V'koshken, certainly if he's just guarding. If he's just guarding, and there's another reason why he's not going to eat. Because guarding is not considered a full involvement. So bottom line, we see that in some cases, there is no achila at all. Unlike Rav, who says that in all cases, there's achila, whether min haTorah or midrabanan. Continues the Mishnah. There are 4 different types of categories regarding somebody watching an item, 4 different levels of responsibility. Shomer Achinam, first is a fellow who's guarding it free of charge. Vashayil, or a person who's borrowing something. He has a heightened level of responsibility. Sachar, person is getting paid a fee for guarding an item. Vasoicher, finally a renter. What are their statuses? Shomer Achinam nishbal hakol. If you're guarding something free of charge, anything that happens, you're off the hook. Just make a shvur, an oath, to confirm that story, and you're patur. Unless you totally were negligent and careless. Pshia is an exception. But otherwise, if it gets stolen, lost, you're patur. Vashayil mashalem esakol. On the other hand, the other side of the spectrum, the other extreme, you have a borrower. He's fully indebted to the owner. Anything that happens, pretty much anything that happens, triggers a payment on his on his end. He has to pay for any mishap. A fellow who's getting paid to watch an item, or a renter, there it's sort of split. If the animal gets damaged, hurt, or gets taken away, shvuya is kidnapped, right? It was taken away, or dies. These are things, which he's not responsible for, so they make a shvur that indeed this is what happened, and they're patur, but they have to pay for some cases. If it gets lost or stolen, they're responsible. Now, Mantana Arba Shaiman, who is the author of this Mishnah, who listed 4 different levels of Shmirah? Amar Rav Nachman, Amar Rabba Barabo, Rabbi Meir. It's Rabbi Meir speaking. Okay, says the Gemara, Amar Le Rabba Rav Nachman. So Rabbi asked Rav Nachman, why are you asking such a question? Mi ikad lesta Arba Shaiman? Is there anybody in the world that doesn't hold of this concept of the Arba Shaiman? Amar Le, he says, I meant to ask like this. Man Tana Soicher Kenois Sachar. Who is the author of our Mishnah who considers a renter on the same level as a noisei sachar? Right? They're both equally responsible for the aved v'gneva, etc. Who treats them alike? That's Rabbi Meir, right? Who in the Brisa holds that a seicher like a seicher asks, "What really?" That's Rabbi Meir's opinion. But Rabbi Meir, if we have a brisa where Rabbi Meir says just the opposite. The sanya seicher case in mishalim. Right? How do we treat a seicher? Rabbi Meir mikashem mechinam. He has a very minimal degree of responsibility, like a shemachinam. So Rabbi Meir does not pair together a seicher with a nice sachar. Rabbi Yehuda is the one who says that you compare it to Hashem as Sachar. Says the Gemara. Right? So basically, we thought that the Mishnah, I guess because it's a Stam Mishnah, anonymous Mishnah, typically follows Rabbi Meir. So Rabbi Meir is the one who's saying that in the Mishnah, a Seicher and a Sachar are in the same category. But here we have a Brisa, where according to Rabbi Meir it's not so. Says the Gemara, Rabba Baravu Ifcha Ketani, right? So the question was that Rabbi Rabu just told us a minute ago, right? Right, he said clearly, Mishnah's Rabbi Meir, right? So how is that consistent with the Brisa, where Rabbi Meir holds that a nice Sachar and a Seicher are different categories, have different levels of Achrayus? Answers the Gemara, Rabbi Baravu Ifcha Ketani, Rabbi Rabu who claimed who stated otherwise because he had a different version of this Brisa. That, in fact, Rabbi Meir is the one who says a seicher and a nice sachar are on the same level. Yachi, says the Gemara, 1 second. I have a question here. Why is the Mishnah giving us a printout of 4? Yachi arba, 4 levels? Shleishana, really only 3. Because a seicher, and, right, a seicher is not his own fellow. He's either on the same level as a Shem Achinam or a Shem Sachar, depending on the opinions, right? You're right. We're just describing 4 individuals with the name Shloisha, but really it's a total of 3 levels of responsibility because a Seicher either compares to this one or to that one. Says the Gemara, there was a story regarding a Shemer Sachar, Raya, right, a shepherd. He was grazing his animals. He was basically leading his animals. The animals under his watch. Aguda de Nahar Papa on the riverbank of the river Nahar Papa. And what happened? Sorag Chadam, one of his animals slipped and fell into the river of Nafs Lamai. Okay? It's gone. Also made the Rabbah. So the animal owner was complaining and came to Rabbah. Upatri. But Rabbah says that this fellow is pater. Why? Omar, he says, look, what more could he have done? I mean, he was walking with them normally, they were pasturing, and then they slipped in. Hanata could not re-entry. He was shomer the way normal people watch their animals. You don't expect him to do something above and beyond the norm. It's like an oinus, like an accident. He's pater. We don't treat it like aveda, like something which got lost, for which he would be responsible. We treat it like an oinus. Amalei Abai responded to Rabbah. If that's the case, if you're exempting him in this case, let's say al lemasa beidna daili inshi hachanami de pater. Says Abai. So if so, let's say this shepherd abandoned his flock. Why? It was lunchtime, and everybody go visits the local cafeteria in town, right? Al lemasa, this shepherd went into town. Be'itna daili inshi, when typically these shepherds do so. So if he spent lunch in town and something happened while he was absent, right? Because he wasn't there to watch. Are you going to say he's pater, chanami de pater, just because it's common practice, it's common custom? It doesn't really absolve him. Abaye holds, he's being paid for this job. He's got to keep higher standards. He can't just, follow the rote. Amalei, so Rabbah said, actually, I have a surprise for you in. That's correct. Yeah. So Rabbah maintains that as long as he's, keeping to the regular, common modus operandi, whatever is done, whatever is accepted, practice, that works, even though he's a shemer sachar. So if the typical standard is that a raya takes off an hour for lunch, and that's okay, it's acceptable. Says Abaye further. Says Abaye, Gana Purta, let's say he took a little nap. Be'idna the Gana Inshi, when shepherds typically nap. Are we going to say the same thing? Hachanami the Pater, he's Pater if something happened while he was not really being attentive? Amalei, so Rabbah says, yeah, right on, in, yep. Esvei. So Abaye asked the kasha on Rabbah from my Bryce. Elohim einsin. Sheshemer socher pater alein. Only in the following incidents do we consider it an einus sufficient for to exempt a shemer socher. Elohim einsin sheshemer socher pater alein. Kigoyin, like the pasuk in Eiv, right? The tragedy that befell him in Vatipol Shiva. So they from the kingdom of Shva, they came and they captured and they attacked them, right? They took everything. So the Bryce is indicating to us that only in this type of situation where he can't repel the attackers, it's totally beyond his means. Then we say Shemer Sachar is Pata, but a standard incident, even if you want to sort of classify it as a semi-oines, it's not sufficient to exempt him. Right? Amar Lei, so Rabbah responds, that's not describing the standard Shemer Sachar obligations. Hasam b'chazone masa. We're speaking there about, she says, Shemer ha'ir balayla, the night watchmen. These night watchmen are hefty fellows. These fellows have a very high standard, and the whole city is totally relying on them to watch them, to guard them. So of course, these fellows have to be more vigilant. So the only way for them to be absolved is if they're overtaken by this, overwhelming, attack. Otherwise, they're pot, right? Otherwise they're chayiv. But a standard shemer sachar doesn't have such high standards. As long as it qualifies somewhat as an oines, it's sufficient to exempt him. Here comes another kasha from Abaye to Rabbah. What's the extent of the chiv achrayus of Yishemer Sachar? Up until what point? How much does he have to invest himself? Very far. At kedei, like the pasuk by Yaakov Avinu, who's describing to Lavan what he went through in guarding his flock. During daytime I was struck by heat, by nighttime by freezing temperatures. So basically, he's indicating that a Shomer Sachar has got very high standards. Amalei. So Rabbi responds to Abaye, Atu Yaakov Avinu Chazan Masahava. Sorry, Amalei. Amalei Asam Nam B'Chazani Masa. So Rabbi says, well, there too. The standard described here relates to the Chazani Masa, the night watchmen who have a higher standard. Amalei. So Abaye says, what do you mean? We're speaking about Yaakov Avinu, Atu Yaakov Avinu Chazan Masahava. He had this type of job? No. He's just a regular shepherd. So the answer is like this. The Amalei. So Rabbi says, no. The pasuk here, and Yaakov Avinu here is describing a higher set of standards which he conformed to despite the fact he didn't have to. He went beyond what he was meant to do. The Amalei Lavan, he tells Lavan, what are you complaining to me? Natrilach, do you know what I did for you? Natrilach, I guarded for you. I provided a service of the higher standards. Nitirusi Yisarasa, an extra higher level of Shmira, Chazani Mas, just like those Chazani Mas. But truthfully, a regular Shomer Sachar doesn't necessarily have to live up to these standards. Eisvei comes another kasha from Abaye to Rabbah. So the shepherd is tending to the flock, for which he's getting paid for, right? A paid job. And he abandoned his flock and he came into town. And while he was gone, a wolf comes and kills one of the animals. A lion came and attacked. So what is the halacha? We don't say, well, it's his fault, because if he would have been there, he would have saved the animal. We don't say that. We don't attribute blame to him. Then we make a true evaluation. Look, if in fact, if he were present, could he have repelled the attack? Then he's responsible. Otherwise, potter. So Abaye now will explain his kasha on Rabbah. My love, shall we not assume that we're speaking to all be'idna da'ilin, that he came into town for a visit when it's a custom to do so, like when typically shepherds do so. I guess let's say lunchtime, right? They come in for right. Still, the Brisa says that we blame him for it. If he would have been there, he could have done something, then he's to blame. So we see that even though he's following common practice, it doesn't exempt him, because there's Shomer Sachar. He has higher standards. Says the Marloi, no, that's not the case. The Al Bidna, the Loi Eilin, was speaking that he came for a visit. He abandoned his flock. Typically, shepherds do not do that. So there's no real excuse for what he did. So he's chayiv. If that's the case, I might potter. So even if we establish that if he would have been there, he couldn't have done anything, which makes it an oinus, but that shouldn't be enough reason to exempt him. The fact is, he left his flock unattended. It's an act of pure negligence. It's called a pshia. So he initiated with a pshia. So even if the Seife Ba'inez ultimately turned out to be an accident, chayiv, right? That's the halacha. We had a machlekes actually, but it seems like he's going with that shita right now. That chilasa pshia v'Seife Ba'inez is chayiv. So why would he be pater if we determined that his presence would not have made a difference? The fact is, it was preceded by a carelessness, which makes him totally liable for anything. Answers the Gemara, no. He's not to be blamed. He got scared off by the lion. The Shama kol aryeh ba'al. He heard a lion approaching and he took off. So that's an aynus. Says the Gemara, Yachi. So if he ran off because of the lion, so what's the point of establishing and theorizing whether or not he could have repelled the attack if he would have been, what could he have done? What do you mean? It's a lion. He could have prepared himself. He could have went out for a preemptive attack. He could have defended his flock by summoning some other shepherds and getting together some weapons, some sticks. So the fact that he didn't do that, right? The fact that he wasn't there to do that makes him chayiv, right? So that's the point of evaluating. We evaluate whether or not he could have repelled the attack. Yachi. Says the Gemara, if that's the case, that we're only blaming him for not counterattacking, so why is the Brisa limiting this halacha, limiting this liability to Hashem Yisachar, who has higher standards? Well, you should have protected your, right? Even if he's doing this for no fee, he's doing it as a mitzvah. So what? He's being negligent. He could have easily repelled the attack. And the Amar, Mar, you Rava, didn't you tell us once that even a Shomer Achinim, that could have repelled the animals, and he failed to do so? Chayav. So why is this brisa specific to Hashem Yisachar? The same concept, same principle applies to anybody. Even Hashem Rechinam. Answers the Gemara, you're right in principle, but in practicality, it makes a difference. Hashem Rechinam b'chinam. All Hashem Rechinam is obligated to do is to try to repel the animal, but only if it doesn't cost him any money. Hashem Yisachar b'schar. The point of the brisa is that Hashem Yisachar has a heightened level of responsibility. He's got to be willing to pay. Right, to hire other fellows to come help him repel the attack, because after all, he's getting paid for the job, so he has that responsibility. Asks the Gemara. Right, so we're talking about a case where it was going to cost him money, so therefore, that's only a chiyuv for Hashem Yisachar. But come on, what's the maximum? How much is he meant to invest? Right, ad kedei dmein, up until the value of the animals. So if the animals in total are worth $1 million, he's got to be willing to invest $1 million, up until $1 million to protect him. Asks the Gemara, well, I mean, so we're all agreeing that the Hashem Yisachar on his own, one man alone can't do anything here. Right? Unless he gathers together, he gets some help, he gets some weapons, right? And he pays for it, right? What do we find? That Hashem Yisachar has this type of obligation. He's got to invest his own money to protect, right? Answers the Gemara, no, he's not losing anything. The Hadar Shakal Dmein Balabais. He's going to get paid back from the Balabais. If that's the case, that the owner is repaying him, Maya Mina. What's the purpose of doing this? What's he gaining from? I mean, he's laying out $1 million to save himself his crop, his flock, which is worth $1 million. I mean, what's the point? The answer is like this: he already trained them; they're familiar with him, and it's he's saving himself that whole effort, all that time and effort invested. It's not just about money, right? Nafkamina. Difference is like this: he gains the following two items: the kushwa de chiyusa, the familiarity with the animals, right? They're familiar with him, right? And he knows their language, they know his, right? Inami, another point, l'tircha yiseros, the point of having to go find new animals, all that shopping, all that work involved. So the Hashem Yisachar is meant to preserve this flock for his owner, even if it means making this extra effort. Rav Chizda v'Rabba Rav Huna lo yisfiru hadarabba. Let's go back to the whole story, which triggered that whole sugya. This fellow was taking the animals under his care. He was being paid for them, and he was taking them for a walk, and one of them slipped in, right? Rabbi says, well, it's not his fault. He's just doing the regular thing. But says the Gemara, there is an opposing view. Rav Chizda, v'Rabba bar Rav Huna lo yisfiru hadarabba. They disagreed with Rabbah. They held the shepherd fully accountable. The Amri, because the owner can tell him, look, you know why I'm paying you, right? As they say, you get what you pay for, right? I'm trying to pay you so that you, that's exactly why I paid you. I expected you to do a better job looking after my animals. So what are you doing, letting them slip in the water? So therefore he's chayiv. Bar Ado, that was his name, and he was a sabullah. He was a schlepper, a fellow who would transport, a porter, right? Havakama aver chiyusa agamlo de norash. So he was in the middle of carrying some animals over the bridge. Gamla is a bridge in the town of Norash. So it seems like he wasn't actually carrying them, but he was, getting them across. And one of them shoved the other one into the water. Shadis of Maya threw into the water. He comes to Papa. He's got to pay. Marley says, what do you blame me? What could I have done? I mean, the animals were fighting. Marley says, well, you could have taken them across a single file, one at a time. So there's no fighting in the middle. Marley. So Barada responded to the Rav, Yadas bebevar achsich, the motzi, le'me'evar chada chada, bar achsich is your nephew, the son of your sister. It's just an expression. One of our community, one of the Yidden, basically. Is there anybody that you know? That's what he's trying to say. Is there anybody you know that does this type of thing, that brings the animals over one at a time? That's not the way to do it. Why are you demanding, why are you expecting higher standards of me? Amr Leisra, Papa says, Kfar tzavchu kamay de kamoch. This is not a new argument. This claim has been voiced by those who preceded you. It's an old discussion. All the shepherds have the same claim. Nobody pays attention to that. Basically, he's going in line with Rav Chizda and Rabbi Huna. You're getting paid for the job. Do a good job and don't complain. There was a story revolving a fellow called Aivu. Okay, Afkid Kisna Beirunya. He took his flax, his kisna, and he gave it to Runya as a shemer chinam for safekeeping. And what happened? It got stolen. Azal Shabu. Shabu was the name of a local thief. Shamtimine stole the pishta, he stole the material from Runya. The Seifukar Ganab. Turns out they reviewed the video cameras and they discovered that Shabu was the thief. And they could have taken him to the Bezdin. Sounds like he was a Jewish thief. And they could have gotten the stuff back from him. Also, the Kameder of Nachman. So now it was a question of who's responsible, who has to go chase the Ganav? I mean, right? Is the owner going to do that or the Shemer going to do that? Rav Nachman says that Runya, who's the Shemer, look, you have the ability to, we already tracked down the Ganav, you can catch up with him, get the money out of him. In the meantime, you have to pay the owner. And the effort involved in extracting that money from the Ganav is on your head. Says the Gemara, really? So Shemer Chinam has to go to that great extent of compensating the owner, and then he himself has to go run after the Ganav. It seems to be in opposition to Rav Huna. The Shalach Rav Huna bar Avin, he sent a halacha as follows. Let's say a fellow was watching, an animal, and the animal was stolen, right? Armed robber stole it, and then they tracked down the thief. And there's a way, if we take it to court, we can get the money out of him. So it depends. So the question is, whose obligation is that? Who has to go run after the Ganav? The owner or the Shemer? If he wasn't getting paid for this job, then it's up to him. Ratza nishba. He can choose to just swear that it happened and he just walks away free. Ratza isay maydin. Or if he wants, he can just repay the owner. And then he himself will go find the Ganav and get the money back. So it's basically up to the Shemer. But if he was getting paid for this task, here he has no choice. Shemer Sachar has to repay the owner and then, try to get compensated from the Ganav. He can't just get away by making a shvur, look, this is what happened. No. I mean, if the Ganav is not around, fine, then the Shemer Sachar, so even though the Ganav is accessible, but the Shemer Sachar has got to be the one that takes the Ganav to court and gets the money back. So that's Rav Huna bar Avin's halacha, which doesn't seem to be consistent with Rav Nachman, who says that even by the Shemer Chinam story, the same didn't apply, that the Shemer is responsible. Amar Rava, the answer is like this. Hassam, over there with the story with the flax of Runya that was stolen, Gavri de Parmuska Bukaimi, there were local officials standing by. There was some police on the corner, which he could have quickly summoned The Rama Kalev, had he only yelled out for help, they would have come and protected him. He failed to do so he's partially responsible, and therefore he has to go and compensate the owner. And then get compensated from the Ganav. So, once we know that a Shemer Sachar is chayiv for Geneva and not for Oines, let's proceed with the next Mishnah, which will sort of frame for us, determine for us what is considered a true Oines, which exempts a Shemer Sachar. Ze'ev Echad. Suppose one wolf came and attacked the herd, right, and killed the animal. Eino Oines, that's not called an Oines, because the Shemer, the shepherd, could have easily repelled him. Shnei Ze'ev Oines, but he was attacked by two wolves at the same time. That's overwhelming force. That's something beyond his ability. Rabbi Yehuda, you should know that when it's a time where wolves are just coming and freely attacking, right? So they're more aggressive at that, and then even if it's just one single wolf, right? Because of the added element of brazenness that's prevalent at that time, he would have had a difficult time repelling it, and it's called an oines. What about dogs? Shnei klavim, ein oines. Even two dogs attacking is not an oines. Yodua bavli oimer, mishura meir, kotzra meir. Well, it depends if they're coming together or from two directions. Ruach achas, if they're both coming from the same direction, he could have easily chased them off. Ein oines. Mishtei ruchas, if they came from two different directions, from all sides, oines, that's called an accident. Halistim ein oines. If it was a robber who came and took the animal, that's called an oines. And we have a string of wild animals: ha'ari, v'adoi, v'anomer, v'abadlos, v'anochash, a lion, a bear, leopard, a bardalus, a nochash, a snake. Harei lo'oines, they attacked, it's an oines. And must say, when is that true? Bizman shebo ma'alein. When do we say that if the robber shows up or the lion shows up, that's only if they came on their own, right? So he's pasturing his flock and grazing his animals, and suddenly a lion shows up, unexpected, total surprise. Let's say the shepherd decided to take his animals to a dangerous place, a place which is known to have the presence of animals and robbers, and something happens there. You can't consider that an accident. Let's say the animal just died suddenly. That's an accident. Sigfa mesa, let's say he deprived it of food or drink, and then it died. That's not an oines, and he's chayiv. Also, let's say the animal quickly ran up to climbed up to the top of the cliff and dropped down. That's an oines. Let's say he himself led the animals up to the top, and then an animal dropped down, and it died. You can't, you have no excuse there. Asks the Gemara. The Mishnah says one ze'ev is not an oines. The Brisa does consider a single ze'ev attacking to be an oines. Amar Nachman, Bar Yitzchak, ahi b'shas mashnachas ze'evim. That Brisa is speaking when the wolves were letting loose, and they were just attacking. They were in attack mode, right? An unusual environment where the ze'evim were gripped by this sudden, brazenness. So there we say even one is considered dangerous. For Rabbi Yehuda, this is in line with Rabbi Yehuda's shita in the Mishnah as well. Halista mareza oines. So if a robber comes and attacks, that's called an oines. Why? But a fight. It's one against one. Amai. Loiki gavra land gavra. Pit one man against the other, meaning the shepherd could have fended him off. Amar Rab Listim Mezuyin, we're speaking about an armed robber. Here comes a question. Listim Mezuyin, V'royim Mezuyin Mai. Let's say both the robber and the shepherd are armed. Is that considered an oines? What's the question? Shall we say uki gavra la de gavra? We have an equal match, right? One against one, and he could have chased them off. Or maybe no. The robber is highly motivated and more willing to sacrifice to gain his objective, right? That's what he's coming for. He knows that he might face opposition. He's coming all out. So perhaps you don't expect that same level of tenacity from the shepherd. We're not expecting him to moisa nefesh, right? Like the robber. The robber is coming to him serious nefesh. The raya is not expected to do so. So is he responsible or not? Says the Gemara Mistabra, it's probable that he's not obligated to go all out. The robber is being Ma'aseh Nefesh, he's coming all out, whereas the shepherd is not expected to put up that same level of opposition. Amalei Abai LeRabba. So Abai tells Rabba, I have an interesting exception to this halacha. So if he was attacked by a robber suddenly, that's not his fault. But let's say the shepherd, wanted to sort of scare off the potential robber. He says, Mr. Robber, V'amarle says, look, God be sorry, he calls him a name, right? You lowly, despicable Ganav, listen very closely. B'duchta planya yasivinan, right? I'm actually going to be stationed in such and such area with my animals. Don't even dare coming close. We have 25 people with us. We have 35 dogs, right? Zuksa Psikolon, we have 50, slingshot shooters. We're all equipped, all armed. Don't you dare come, right? And what happened? Va'azal. And the robbers showed up with the whole gang. They took some of the animals. What's they did? Right? Do we say that actually it was commendable? It was good that he warned the robbers ahead of time, and now it's really it's a kindness. Or shall we say no? The fact is that perhaps he incited by warning him in this manner. He sort of he tempted him. He incited him. If anything, he caused this calamity. Amalei says, just like in the Mishnah, we learned that if he took his animals to a place which is considered dangerous, he's responsible. Here as well, he created, right? With this presentation to the Ganav, he triggered him, and he sort of created. He's the cause of this dangerous environment, and he's to blame for what happens. Okay, let's recap today's daf. We started with the halacha of the poel that eats off his job. We have the concept of being koitzetz, foregoing that meal in exchange for a salary increase. We learned about the status of a shomer peiros. We have machlokes Rav and Shmuel, whether it's considered like a oisei maser or not. We had the classic Mishnah of Abor Shomrim, Shemachidim, Shoyel, and then we have Nesei Sachar and Seicher. And the question is, what status does the Seicher have? We have a Meir, Rabbi Yehuda, two different girses. We have an interesting chiddush of Rabbah that even though Shomer Sachar is not, all out responsible, as long as he follows accepted norms, he's okay. We have a machlekes on that, and we concluded with the Mishnah, which sets the parameters of what is and what is not considered an oinus. All the best to you, and Hatzlach.